Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you're at. Welcome to the Blueprint on How to Turn Goals into Achievement podcast for students. And I'm your host, motivational speaker and coach, Andres Ruiz. And today I have the privilege and the pleasure of having an amazing human here that is doing so many amazing things for our youth. And I'm just going to introduce her really quickly. And I love her name. I was asking her, like, how do you pronounce your name? And so her name is TaiQuay, and S. Bogle, who is at Broward College Trio with Upward Bound Academic. She's the coordinator there. And just real quick about her is, she's a mother, wife, and lifelong learner who is an enthusiastic about all things academics and scholarships in all seasons of life. I love that. And she is a transition teacher with 10 years of in-class and out-of-class experience in NOLA, Baltimore, DC, and South Florida. Much respect to you for what you did there, for real. And she currently holds a bachelor's degree in psychology and 3 master's degrees in elementary education K through 6, special education K through 12, and educational leadership. Man, that's awesome. And she is also committed to ensuring the often overlooked communities have the support, advocacy, and academic advisement needed to break the generational curses, stereotypes, and status quo. Man, I love this bio. It's like short, sweet, right to the point with so much purpose. And so welcome, TaiQuay. Like, I really appreciate you being on the show. How are you feeling today?
I am feeling blessed and highly favored, and also humbled that I have an opportunity to present myself in a manner on your platform.
For
You're
sure.
doing some amazing
For sure. Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And, I kind of want to get into it and just, start this conversation with actually kind of like a little bit of helping you, brag on yourself a little bit. I think it's always good to kind of give yourself a little brag. But to start things off, tell us, what is your superpower?
So when I looked at the question, I thought long and hard, and I think my superpower is napping.
Okay.
I am I am learning in this season that I must replenish and pause and rest.
Ooh, yeah.
So lately I've been on TikTok learning how to take, and YouTube, how to take the perfect power nap. Being a mom, being a wife, academic coordinating in any service field, you're giving so much of yourself.
Yes.
So I'm trying to find little opportunities and ways to replenish myself. So right now it's power napping. I can hit like a 15-20 minute window and I'm charged and ready to go. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
gonna go with a superpower of napping right now.
I love that. And I think it's so crucial for us to have success in our lives is having that self-care and being
Mhm.
aware of when you're tired and you're like, yo, I need a nap right now. I
Yes.
just A nap can change the whole outcome of the rest of your day, the rest of your life, if you actually
Yes.
apply this every day. So
Yes.
that's awesome. I love that. Yeah, definitely a power nap. That's a good one. So just like with Trio, not a lot of people know about it. And and Upward Bound, I really love these programs. And I've had the privilege and the pleasure of working with quite a few Trio programs and Upward Bound programs. And just to be there and speaking to the youth and talking to them and getting to know more about these programs, I am so grateful for these programs. I mean, I wish I would have, been able to have, what I'm saying? Like, it would be so cool. But just kind of like, give us an overview of what Trio is and Upward Bound and what you do there.
Okay, so I have been working as an academic coordinator with Broward College Trio Upward Bound program going on about 2 months now.
Okay.
So prior to taking the role, I actually had a former colleague who filled the capacity and ironically was at the school that I'm placed at now in Broward County. One of the things he told me to do before I applied was go and read not only the job description, but the federal description of the program.
Mm,
So I guess you can say, like, at a glance, Trio Upward Bound specifically targets ninth through 11th grade students as far as our recruitment efforts are concerned to service a population of high need. So that is going to be scholars who are first generation. That means, as far as mom and dad, you will be the first person in your family to choose to pursue college education.
Mm.
low income. So based upon the number of people in your house and your income that's coming in, you would be considered low income. The way that we kind of explain it to the kids, or I make it very clear to them so it's not off-putting to hear something like a quote unquote label of low income, is if you've ever benefited from having free or reduced lunch. And I share my story with being one of those students, that would put you in that particular bracket. And something that I also found really unique when I was reading through the federal description is any student that is considered at risk. So maybe that's your home environment, or how we were speaking before, maybe your parents don't necessarily know how to support you in your pursuits academically, but a college readiness and preparation program. We've also integrated some wellness factors. And what the kids like the most is the cultural exposure. So taking them on field trips, taking them to see college campuses in and out of state, and also paying them for their grades. So me and the kids went back and forth about getting the bag, just to do what you should be doing, and that is being a great scholar.
I love that, man. Getting paid to get, oh man,
I
that's,
tell them all the time, no one paid us.
oh my God. I'm like, where is the, oh, where were you guys when I was in college? Man, that's motivation right there. And I just want to first of all acknowledge you and appreciate you for you being so willing and vulnerable to share your story with
Oh,
these
yes.
students of your experience, because I think that that's when kids really connect with you. I've noticed that, just when, I'm giving presentations or I hear other people talk about their vulnerability, their challenges that they've had, the kids really resonate with you a lot more than if you just say, hey, this is how you become successful,
Yes.
So I appreciate that. And that is so powerful. I mean, all this information is so, like, so many golden nuggets just being given right now by yourself right now. So thank you for that. And, like with, for students who are interested in a career in higher ed, what would you say it takes to be successful at, what you do?
Okay, so as you mentioned, I consider myself to be, I just heard this term yesterday, so let me use it, a repurposed educator, because I'm not ever going to relinquish that hat. So I don't want to consider myself retired.
Mm.
So my path to higher education, I would say, is probably the least traditional route. I actually have a very extensive background in K through 12 education. But as I'm sitting in this role, I'm finding that the thing that has made me most successful was my year that I spent of service in New Orleans working with City Year Incorporated, which is an AmeriCorps program. And that particular year, I dedicated a year of service to being a full-time tutor mentor and also volunteer within the New Orleans community as they were still trying to rebuild after Hurricane Katrina. So during that time, the goal with that program was to ensure that high schoolers were on a track where they were college and career ready. So applying that knowledge with what I was able to see and try and advocate or push against while serving in the K through 12 sector as a educator, I'm just combining all of those things to help them to reflect back and also helping them to understand we only have such a small time to plan forward. So truly focusing on each individual kid that's in front of me. Yes, my grant at my school focuses on 60, but I understand that that is 60 different children that have 60 different needs in order to make sure that there's 60 different paths end up in a place as far as college is concerned for them to be successful.
That's powerful. Yeah. And another thing that I heard when as you were speaking about how you volunteered and helped out
Mhm.
before, you doing all this stuff, like, how do you feel that that helped you in your, career and in your life to just get to where you're at? Like, and how would you let these, students or people who are coming up to higher ed, how would you let them know, like, hey, this is something that is actually very helpful for you and
Mhm.
in your advancement in your career? Like, what would you tell them about volunteering?
I had no idea that I wanted to be in education, be that K through 12 or higher ed. For me, it's been very like purpose driven. So there are always events that create ripples and waves that continue to, push me towards where I feel like I call it the hard work. So work that you're
Mhm.
doing of your heart, and then the hard work. So the things that you have to continue to, like endeavor, like going to school, getting the background, or, maybe holding a position that you don't necessarily care for a longer period of time for you to get tools to put inside your toolbox.
Mhm.
So I attended, and I'm a very proud alum of Florida Agriculture and Mechanical University. people affectionately call it FAMU or FAM. And I just remember I, in a sense, am a first generation student, but because my mom went to college while I was like in middle school, I didn't qualify
Oh,
for the program at the time. So imagine, but she went to like a buy here, pay here college. So she wasn't necessarily privy to the collegiate experience. So I was always told, go to college. I went to college. I was told, get the degree. I got the degree. What I didn't necessarily know or have access to, because like you said, you know what you know, that you should also be interning, that you should be looking for opportunities that you're going to do post graduation.
mm,
So I was 2 months away from graduation when a good friend was like, okay, what are you going to do after? I'm like, what do you mean? I have a degree, a bachelor's in psych. And you know how you see all the videos that are like, you have a bachelor's degree and the job is looking at you with like this and face.
yeah.
So my friend Quentin Shroud, who is working on his doctorate degree right now, was like, okay, we can apply to TFA, which is Teach for America, and we can apply to City Year. So we both didn't get TFA. He got in City Year NOLA first, and he was like, if I come, my friend has to come. So they took me, and then I called my best friend who was working back in Florida at Florida Gulf Coast University and said, well, if I'm coming, he has to come because I'm afraid to move even further from home. So they took all of us. So
Ooh,
here we are living on a poverty stipend in New Orleans and embracing the culture. You learn that no matter what you do, no matter what amount of money you're receiving, you're still servicing people, and
mm,
people are your greatest capital.
ooh, man, that's deep right there. Wow,
Yeah.
like that whole right there, like wow, that was very touching, and I like the whole, the hard work versus the hard work, man. That right there, and then your friend, what was his name again? Oh man, big shout out to him.
Quentin called City of New Orleans and told them you have to take TaiQuay. TaiQuay called and said, well, if you're taking me, you have to get my friend Jarvis. And I convinced him to quit his full-time job with benefits just to like come with me. And it changed our lives because we all figured out that we wanted to be in education. There's something
Mm,
called LACY, Life After City Year. So I chose to go the route of going into the graduate feeder program to become a teacher. And
yeah.
then Jarvis was like, oh no, I like higher ed. So he ended up going to Mexico. And then our friend Quentin, he said, I'll take a grad school route too, and ended up going to Philadelphia to work on a degree as well.
Wow.
So it affirmed us in so many ways and confirmed that we really wanted to do the work to change the communities that we all came from.
Wow, that's so cool and such a great story that just just yeah, and when you really want something and you really are like just speak with conviction and people can see that people will say yeah because what if you had not what if your friend had not asked and then what have if you had not asked where would you guys be right now and it only took a moment for you to make that decision. I want to bring my friend too. That's
And
so
we're getting that with Trio on campus as well, because I was at work yesterday at the MacArthur campus in Broward, and kids who have heard me present to their class because their teachers are inviting me to come in now because we're rebuilding at that site.
love
They
that.
may have heard me share my story, and now during lunch, they're bringing their friend to the Brace office where I'm stationed and saying, hey, this lady said you can go to college for free. And they're able to regurgitate my story to their friend. And their friend's like, oh, okay, yes, sign me up. And I mean, applications are coming just based off what
Ooh,
you said. One person asking, and then we have a ripple and a wave effect.
that's beautiful. I love that. That's a wonderful story, and and that story still continues to impact to this day, which I love even more. So
Yeah.
that is so cool. And I mean, I can see how you speaking to them, you're pretty much like a mentor to these kids too. I mean,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
I'm I'm sure you're like you get really attached to these kids, kind of like almost like family. I've connected with people like yourself that
Mhm.
they just absolutely love the kids and they're just like family to them. And I want to ask you, like, how did you find help and mentorship, for what you do, and like, you know, and then also like, giving them a little shout out for those mentors that helped you in your life.
So I remember my very first mentor. I was honored enough to be selected for a program called Take Stock in Children. And again, it's a program that services high needs students. So for me, I was low income and at the time, first generation. My sixth grade ELA teacher, Belinda Hope, recommended me for the program, and I still remember her name to this day. She's a
Wow.
principal now in Broward County, and because of her, I got my mentor, Tawana Bonaparte. She is also a employee of Broward County Public Schools. She came to my high school graduation, she came to my college graduation, and she continues to be an advocate for and with me. While at FAM, I came across many of my friends, even though they're my peers, I consider them to be my mentors. So that's where you get the Quentin Strouds and the Jarvises and the
Mhm.
Courtney Throwers, who are also all in higher ed in some capacity. Shawnette Bryant, who I met, who was a mentor and still is very much so an advocate for me being successful while I was working on my first two master's degrees. And as I've continued to progress through and transition into this role, I have to specifically shout out Tyree McLeod, who was a colleague who showed me the trio light and advocated for me to apply to the role, and
Mhm.
also Rudy Jean Bart and another Dr. Presley Charles, all of which in some capacity I met on Twitter or LinkedIn. And they reached out and said, "Hey, I noticed you're trying to take this route. Here's how I can help. Here's how I'm willing to extend myself." And once I got in the role, they didn't relinquish the opportunity to continue to mentor and pour into me. They're continuing to check in with me, continuing to provide bites of knowledge. And I would even say my husband, Robert Bogle, because he keeps me grounded and continues to provide me with ways that I can better myself personally. And I think that I'm benefiting from that
Mhm.
professionally.
I love that. Yeah, that's powerful. And a lot of people that helped you along the way. And what I really appreciate about you is that you were willing to get that help, you
Oh,
know,
yes.
and then when you're willing to learn and grow and to just go in there and say, hey, what can I learn here? I mean,
Hmm.
the possibilities are endless. And people, when they see that you're willing to learn, that you're coachable, they're going to want
Hmm.
to help you even more. They'll go above and beyond. And that's what
Yes.
these people did for you. And that's why they're still in touch with you, because also your attitude, you have a really amazing attitude. Just by this conversation that we're having alone, you have a really great attitude. I mean, when you showed up on the call, you had a big smile, you have a great presence, which is so crucial for our success. I really believe that. And like, so kind of like, with when it comes to like attitude, and it kind of goes with being humble and staying hungry.
Hmm.
Why is it important to stay hungry and humble at the same time when you're pursuing your goals?
You're gonna want to stay humble because I'm a firm, like I was raised by my great grandmother up until fifth grade. So the small town I'm from, which is Bogle, Florida, we don't have a Walmart there. We are like one street light, but I spend the majority of my time in church when I think in some really foundational years for me. And I was always taught that like your posture, how you present yourself matters. And although I struggled to, because I am those kids that I'm speaking to. I had a nasty attitude. Sometimes I had resting bee face. I was very much so. You can't tell me anything. I know I'll figure it out. And I kid you not, Tom, it wasn't until college when I met that friend Jarvis, who he said to me before we were very close, you have a lot of great qualities about you, but if you don't fix that face and that attitude, you're not going to make it very far. And that really stunned me because he was someone that I really like wanted to like me. And if he was able to see a negative trait or quality in me, that really meant I needed to take some time to adjust. So I needed to be humble because no matter how hungry you are, no matter how many goals you're setting that you're endeavoring towards, if you don't have a posture, a disposition, or a mindset that people care to engage in or with, you're not going anywhere. Your attitude determines your altitude. So whether that's you interacting with others or interacting with yourself, I'm learning and continuing to refine that what I'm going to put out, I'm not always going to get it back, but I'm increasing my chances of getting the same things back.
I
That's
love
why I think it's important to be
that.
humble and humble. It's the
That is
balance.
powerful, powerful stuff. Yeah, I mean, this whole interview was just really super inspiring and amazing. And I just want to say thank you for being on the show and giving us all these golden nuggets. I mean, I'm even like, putting my posture out here, getting ready to go. So, I just
That's
want to
right.
say, Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show. I'm really grateful for this opportunity to interview you and for you to, give some information to these students, these people that are coming up into higher ed. And and for everybody out there that's watching, stay tuned. We're going to have more amazing people like TaiQuay on the show, and stay tuned for the next episode. And thanks again, TaiQuay. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day.
No
Okay.
worries. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Have a good one. Peace.